station of Fox Sports.
We are Fox. We are St. Louis.
This is St. Louis Cardinals baseball. And this evening from Busch Stadium in downtown St. Louis, a battle inside the NL Central Division. Game 2 of the 3-game series between the St. Louis Cardinals and the Milwaukee Brewers. Tonight around Major League Baseball, we celebrate Jackie Robinson Day. And welcome to Cardinals baseball. That's Rick Horton. I'm Dan McLaughlin. Unique setting for us. We're on Clark Street, just outside the ballpark. Every Friday, big parties out here, big party here tonight. And we also celebrate the life and legacy of Jackie Robinson.
Yeah, it's terrific that the season has started, Dan. All kinds of people having a fun time out here. Jackie Robinson, special day. He was a special player, outstanding player. But what he did, what he had to put up with, certainly has been a great legacy for the game of baseball. And he's somebody we should celebrate each year.
Celebration here tonight at Busch Stadium and around Major League Baseball for Jackie Robinson Day. Willie Peralta will get the start for the Milwaukee Brewers. For the St. Louis Cardinals, it's Lance Lynn. Cardinals baseball is coming up. Baseball, look at the BJC Healthcare difference maker so far this season. The starting rotation of the Cardinals, giving the Cardinals every time out, these starters at least 6 innings. Lance Lynn goes tonight.
And Lance Lynn gave more than just 6 innings. He was terrific against the Cubs. He had 9 punch-outs, allowing just 2 hits. He did pick up the loss in that game, but Lance Lynn was right on time in his first start of the season.
Both teams wearing number 42 on all the jerseys to honor Jackie Robinson. Baseball coming up. Difference maker so far this season. The starting rotation of the Cardinals. Baseball, look at the BJC Healthcare difference maker so far this season. The starting rotation of the Cardinals, giving the Cardinals every time out, these starters at least 6 innings. Lance Lynn goes tonight.
And Lance Lynn gave more than just 6 innings. He was terrific against the Cubs. He had 9 punch-outs, allowing just 2 hits. He did pick up the loss in that game, but Lance Lynn was right on time in his first start of the season.
Both teams wearing number 42 on all the jerseys to honor Jackie Robinson. Baseball coming up. Is brought to you by Bud Light. It reminds fans to stay in the game and drink responsibly. Visit your local Mid-America Chevy dealers for great prices on all our new 2015 vehicles today. And save big money at Menards on all your home improvement needs. The 68th anniversary of Hall of Famer Jackie Robinson's Major League debut. And once again, all players, coaches, and umpires wearing number 42 across Major League Baseball tonight. Along with Rick Horton, I'm Dan McLaughlin. Let's meet the Milwaukee lineup for this ball game against Lance Lynn. Carlos Gomez, then Jonathan Lucroy and Ryan Braun in the first. Adam Lind off to a great start. Aramis Ramirez, Gerardo Parra, Gene Segura, Scooter Gennett, and the pitcher batting ninth, Willie Peralta. There's a look at Lance Lynn, a start in Chicago to begin his season. Really a tough luck loss for him.
Yeah, he pounded the strike zone in that game, and Lance Lynn has had some times in his career where he's gotten off to bad starts, but not that game. He retired the first 10 hitters. Lance is going to throw a lot of fastballs, as he normally does.
A strike and we're underway. Lance Lynn, 49 career wins, 48 as a starter, 1 in relief, and start number 99 of his big league career here tonight. One ball, one strike on Gomez.
Well, this is the guy to contain. If you're going to contain the Brewers offense, you've got to start with Carlos Gomez. Has power, good speed, good eye at the plate, and he's not afraid to let it go every once in a while.
He has said in the past that you will not see him just worry about on-base percentage. He is up there to let it rip. And not only, as he said, does he want to knock it over the wall, his quote, "I want to knock it out of the stadium." With swings like that, you can understand why he may think that way. He lets it rip. Here's a 2-2 pitch from Lynn. Got him, and a strikeout of Gomez. May have chased a ball, and that's how we start the night. A look at the Hyundai pitch arsenal for Lance Lynn.
We mentioned a lot of fastballs. Very few pitchers, very few starting pitchers in the National League will throw nearly 89% fastballs. I mean, he's just going to say, here it is. Now, he's got some variations to that fastball, including one up in the zone that'll ride up and in, as it does on Gomez. Also throws the low fastball that sinks, has the little cutter away to right-handers. So they're all fastballs, but he will vary the movement.
Jonathan Lucroy is hitting .087, and the first pitch is a strike. No home runs, no RBIs. Coming off a sensational year in 2014. He had 53 doubles and was 4th in the MVP ballot. 1 ball, 1 strike. One and two. We're expecting over 40,000 here tonight. Day game tomorrow. Still good seats remaining. That start tomorrow is at 12:45. First pitch.
What about that crowd, Dan, on opening day? 47,875. A record for Busch Stadium 3. I mean, there was not an empty seat in the place, and a number of people standing. It was really a party atmosphere here on opening day.
Here's a 1-2. Think about the party atmosphere here tomorrow with the Blues dropping the puck at 8:30. Day baseball. Come on down. And if you don't have a ticket, we'll have you covered on Fox Sports Midwest with both baseball and hockey tomorrow. Three balls, 2 strikes. Arguably the most poignant moment of opening day, at least in my mind. Lance Lynn and his arm around Carlos Martinez after the video shown to honor Oscar Taveras. And also shaking the hands of the Hall of Famers. You mentioned it a couple of times, but his hand goes up to his hat, takes the hat off, and he's shaking everybody's hand with his hat off.
Very kind of Southern move, very respectful, that Lance just thinks that's what you should do. And he was taught that way, and that's what he did. And I just find that to be a great tribute to the Hall of Famers. We saw the Clydesdales, a lot of good moments on opening day.
And another 3-2 pitch upcoming to Lucroy. Ryan Braun is on deck.
Good to see Red Schoendienst here on opening day. Red told me right before the game, he's here at the ballpark again today. He said, hey, we're going to get some more runs today. So if Red said it, I'm waiting for it.
The 3-2 pitch up the middle and a base hit. One out hit for Lucroy. Look at the Cardinals defensively tonight, presented by Dobbs Tire Auto Centers. Holiday, Jay, and Hayward in the outfield. Carpenter, Peralta, Wong, and Adams on the infield, and Molina behind the plate. Braun hitting .222. No home runs, 1 RBI.
I've always felt that Braun had that little habit as he walks to the plate of swinging down. We just got a good shot of him kind of taking that downward swing with his practice swing just like that. I think the idea is somewhere in his career he probably got his swing a little loopy, got underneath the ball, was popping up, and he's just thinking hit down on the ball, hit down on the ball, and all good hitters do that. You have to drive through the baseball. You can't have a loopy swing, and I think that's a little check he does to make sure he doesn't get into bad habits.
Ryan Braun played at the University of Miami along with John Jay. At one point in his collegiate career, he was a shortstop. Initially, the Brewers tried him at third base, struggled there, and that's why we see him in the outfield now. Adam Lind is on deck. The 2-0 pitch, 2-1.
I wouldn't say, Dan, that he was a gold glove left fielder when we saw him in left, but he was certainly a lot better there than he was as a third baseman.
Undoubtedly.
2-0 pitch, tough league when you can hit that corner with movement. You know, he was looking for a fastball, but really not one he could handle. It's a tough league, Danny.
That's why they call it the major leagues. The 2-1. Now 2-2. Also changed the eye angle a little bit on that last pitch. Went up the ladder just a bit.
Did the same thing on Carlos Gomez. A hitter has his eyes set in a certain part of the zone, and when you change that eye level, you're changing their swing a little bit. You're changing their perception, and smart thing to do from a pitcher's point of view.
Braun to Carpenter to first, and nearly a double play. Let's turn to Rick Horton's Toyota keys to the game.
Well, the Cardinals, we've not seen them hit yet, but what you're hoping for is some production in the top three against Willie Peralta. Carpenter, Hayward, and Holiday have all hit him pretty well. He's actually pitched well against the Cardinals, but those three have done some damage, so that'll have to happen here tonight. And as far as Lance is concerned, just standard Lance. No more, no less than what we've seen from him lately. Even though he lost that last game, don't go out and try to do more than you did the last game. Just be yourself, and normally that's good enough.
Here's Adam Lind. The Brewers pick up Lind, and they also acquired 2 years of his services from the Blue Jays for Marco Estrada's walk year this winter. Estrada right now is in the bullpen for the Blue Jays, and Lind is off to a terrific start for Milwaukee. Brewers have really been searching since Prince Fielder left for that everyday first baseman. The best they've had was probably in 2012 with Corey Hart, who's now with Pittsburgh. The key for Len will be what he can do against left-handed pitching. He has struggled in his career against lefties. Here's a fly ball into left center. John Jay over, and he's got it. Every player wearing number 42 to celebrate the life, the legacy of Jackie Robinson. Whitey Herzog have said about all these choreographed dances that Adam Wainwright comes up with?
I think he would have looked the other way. You certainly know what Dancing with the Stars is. This is Dancing with Adam Wainwright. Everybody's got their own moves. They got to do their thing. Tony Cruz getting into the act, and I think Whitey would just kind of shake his head. You could take his hat off and he'd kind of shake the top of his head and kind of scratch it a little bit and just kind of shake his head sideways. A lot of times what he would do with the starting pitchers who were annoying him, he'd send them to the bullpen.
Get out of here.
You get banished.
Here's a look at the Cardinals lineup. Carpenter, Hayward, and Holiday, Adams, Peralta, Jay, Molina, Wong, and Lynn against Willie Peralta, who was outstanding a year ago in his first start of the season. 7 innings against Colorado and took a no decision.
I mentioned he's pitched well against the Cardinals. This guy has great stuff. He is one of the good young pitchers in the game. Throws 95 to 98. He can top out at 98. Has a slider and a split finger changeup. That's his arsenal, but he's mostly fastball. Here it is.
Peralta, a 17-game winner a season ago, and in the top 5 of the National League. Kershaw, Cueto, Wainwright, Bumgarner, Greinke, and Peralta.
Talking to some Cardinals personnel about Peralta, the word they used is legit. And when they say legit, they're not talking about, okay, he's a legit professional player. They're talking about him being an elite guy.
Up the middle and a base hit for Matt Carpenter. The Hyundai pitch arsenal for right-hander Willie Peralta.
Good start for the top of the order for the Cardinals. There's the fastball at 66% of the time. The slider, the second pitch, and that changeup is a split. And he uses that a little less often, but I'd say that's a pretty good split between those 3 pitches for most starters in baseball. I'd say that's pretty standard. Throw about 2/3 fastball.
The pitching for St. Louis through the first 6 games, very good. As we highlighted during the open, the offense, the Cardinals have stranded through 6 games, 50 left on base. Only Boston, Detroit, and Kansas City have left more on.
I don't think anybody's pushing the proverbial panic button or even knows where the panic button is yet, because it's April 15th. You're more worried about paying your taxes than you are what the Cardinals are going to show all season long. But you really want to get that trend back from 2 years ago.
That's a fair ball. Carpenter to second, on his way to third. Hayward trying for second. Carpenter in there at third. It's a double for Jason Hayward. Little surprised that Parra, who's a 2-time Gold Glover, went for Carpenter at third and not Hayward at second.
And it wasn't a great throw either from Parra. It kind of short hopped the third baseman Ramirez, and I got the sense maybe he wasn't sure where to go with it. But there's a pitch away, and I mean it's away. But Jason Hayward takes it away just inside the bag. They were giving him the line, and then that throw in from Parra just kind of short hops Ramirez, and I'm not sure if he'd have had a chance to get Hayward at second, but I think he had a better chance there than he did with Carpenter at third.
Now it's Holiday. 333, no homers, 2 RBIs. First pitch to the Cardinal left fielder. Line drive, base hit into right. 1 run is in. Hayward being waved home. Relay to the plate. He is saved. 2-0 Cardinals.
How's that for hitting with runners in scoring position? Is that what you wanted?
I like it.
Well, Holiday does it in support of Lance Lynn. There's Hayward, the runner at second, and he waits to make sure that's through, and Jose Oquendo daringly sends him, but not a very good throw by Ryan Braun. It was on line, would have hit the cutoff man. That's why Holiday doesn't go first to second. And there's Matt Adams telling him where to slide. Actually, that was Carpenter. They're all number 42.
4 for 5 with runners in scoring position this year for Matt Holiday. First pitch to Adams, who's been the biggest culprit in terms of leaving men on. He's had 22 plate appearances and stranded 18. Very short lead at first by Holiday.
The first thing we asked for in our keys was production from 1, 2, and 3. We've gotten that already. I think what the Cardinals are hoping for is to be a little greedy on that score and get a couple of guys into the flow of the offense like Matt Adams and maybe like a Yadier Molina, even John Jay, who's off to an okay start, but get those guys kind of their timing back, get them into the flow, get them running around the bases and being a part of the fun.
And a fly ball lifted into left center. Carlos Gomez makes the catch. And that's the first out here in the home half of the first. Milwaukee's defense presented by Dobbs Tire and Auto Centers. Parra, Gomez, and Braun in the outfield. Ramirez, Segura, Jeanette, Lind along the infield. Jonathan Lucroy behind the plate.
Dan, my point about Molina and Adams, and specifically those two guys, is they're going to have, everybody's going to have a stretch during the season where you go 1 for 12 or you have 3 or 4 offers in a row. But when you do it at the start of the season, I think it piles up. It gets a little more frustrating. So you kind of want to get on track. Same thing with a pitcher. You look up and you've got a 6 ERA, and it just doesn't feel good to start a season. You're waiting all year to get going, and all of a sudden you got a big number already. Again, it's not that big a deal, but it feels like it.
Segura to first, throws wild again. He did that on the home opener 2 days ago. So looking for the double play. They may have had Holiday if the throw was there. Peralta lines out. It extends the inning to John Jay with a runner in scoring position and 2 outs. Segura has a cannon for an arm, but has had issues with just this play right there.
Well, a month's worth of errors so far for Segura in this series, and that throw wasn't that bad a throw. It looked like Lind was having a hard time getting around Holiday to give him a good target. And I'm not saying it was a great throw from Segura. It's certainly better than the 2 that he airmailed on opening day, but you'd like to think if you're a shortstop that your first baseman can find that ball and put a glove on it and at least keep it in front of him.
Here's Jay with a runner at second. That's Holiday. The big gap in right center for John. Going back to the base hit by Holiday. Really aggressive by Jose Oquendo to send Hayward, because Braun, that ball was hit hard. Braun had, it looked like the baseball was up throwing just about the time Hayward was making the turn at third.
That's as aggressive as I've seen Jose Oquendo, really most third base coaches, but Jose in particular, with nobody out. And I think you respect the arm of Ryan Braun. We know he's got a decent arm, but that was not a good throw. So it worked out.
The 0-1 pitch. Jay chops it towards second base. Jeanette makes the play. The Cardinals with 3 hits and 2 runs. Those 2 coming around. One swing of the bat by Holiday. Jason Hayward trucking home. 2-0 St. Louis after 1. All right, guys, thanks. Great job on the pregame as always. And here's Aramis Ramirez, who pops one foul and out of play. Ramirez, Parra, and Segura for Milwaukee. Hit sharply towards second. There's Colton Wong moving to his left and makes a good play. That's more like it from Colton. But a tough opening day defensively, and actually said that loss is on me after the game.
Well, you want the ball hit to you after that happens. Turn the page, move on.
Here's Parra.
We've talked about different angles that we'll show throughout the year just so we can get an idea of the speed of this game. And there are times where the behind center field camera looking in towards home doesn't show just how fast the pitcher releases a baseball and how little time a hitter has to react. And so just occasionally we're going to show you this view. Boom. Swing the bat.
Nothing in two on Parra.
This is really this is what the players see. This angle is what this is on the field. This is their world right here with this particular angle.
Classy move by Ron Renicky before the game, as Parra singles into right, maybe two with his speed. Hayward, his arm. Let's see it on display. Yes, sir. Oh, he dropped it. What a throw by Hayward in right, and Parra winds up at second base. That is fun to see, that type of arm.
Well, John Tumpain was ready to ring him up, call him out. Look at this throw, right on the money. There's the tag, and as it hits the elbow, it looks like a Parra. The ball pops out. It's really just barely in his glove to begin with, and he comes up to show the ball, and the ball's not there. There's the elbow. Kind of a natural movement. He didn't a runner, Dan, is not allowed to kind of knock the ball out of the glove. Hayward showing his disappointment. You can't just kind of push the ball out of the glove. Even though his elbow did that, that was just in the kind of natural progression of things as his hand hit the bag.
There's Gene Segura. I was saying it was a classy move by Ron Renicky, and the reason why, he went up to Chris Davis before the game to ask for permission to play Parra ahead of him on Jackie Robinson Day. Chris Davis, African American. Obviously, this game means a lot to him. And Davis, classy response back, said, well, I wouldn't play me either with these numbers I've got against Lynn and what Parra has done against Lynn. Totally understand it, but I really appreciate my manager even thinking about that and asking me.
That's a terrific story all the way around. It's the way it should be, isn't it?
1 ball, 1 strike on Gene Segura. Scooter Gennett on deck. Up the middle, Peralta to his left, gloves it, no play. Now with the speed of Segura, so runners at the corners by getting to the ball, that keeps Parra still on the base paths and keeps the Brewers off the board. It's still a double play in order.
This ground ball just finds the right spot. Up the middle, long way to go for Peralta, and a good decision right there.
Gennett is hitting 158. No home runs, 1 RBI.
Mentioned on an opening day, he got married on an off day last week, came back the next day, struck out again, slammed his helmet down and got thrown out. That's no way to celebrate being a newlywed.
No, sir. And then Ron Renicky benched him the next day.
And I'm sure his wife had a talk with him, too.
Very upset over the fact that he got ejected at that point in the game. And actually, Carlos Gomez came in to play second base. Play the infield for Milwaukee. First time he had done that. Good pitch in on the hands of Gennett. Looking for his second strikeout of the ball game. 0-2 the count. Slapped the other way and foul.
You know, it's interesting for a young player, Dan. You know, you come up your rookie year in baseball, and most guys are schooled pretty well to not act like you've been there a long time. You know, you get it where you just don't say too much. You're very deferential to the veterans. But, you know, you have a good year. Now you're a second-year guy. Is it too soon for me to start exerting my personality? And so a lot of times guys will get stepped on their second or third year with a veteran who will say, look, you had a good year, but have about 8 or 9 of them, and then we'll talk.
0-2 pitch. Ooh, just missed. Sounds like you've got some guys that come to mind.
Oh, that fit every one of those categories.
Lynn really wanted that last pitch. 1-2 the count. Pitcher Peralta on deck. The check on the runner at first base. Segura was a threat to steal. Be interesting how teams go at Yadier Molina. First week of the season, hasn't thrown overly well, and certainly not the standard that we've become accustomed to. However, it's week 1. That time he got the call on the outside corner. Strikeout number 2 for Lance Lynn. Missouri Lottery Foxtrots.
So he went fastball on the outside corner and then followed up with a cutter on the outside corner. Didn't get the first one, got the second one. And probably was not a strike, but if you're Scooter Gennett, I don't think you could take that pitch.
Now the pitcher Peralta with runners at first and third.
And that's part of the reason you can't. Pitcher's up next. You have to expand your zone a little bit because you're your team's best hope in this inning.
Outfield is shallow.
Interesting that Wong is playing at the pull on the right side. They have some respect for the bat of Peralta. There's a big hole on that right side.
Last year he was 3 for 57. One ball and 2 strikes. And Peralta, another one of those examples of a player coming back from Tommy John surgery. He had that all the way back in 2007. It is amazing when you look back at the careers of many players, in particular, obviously, pitchers, but guys that have made it back from that surgery. It's commonplace. To the point that a team like the Boston Red Sox says, well, John Lackey, we think at some point you're going to get hurt and you're going to pitch for the minimum in the contract for us. The Cardinals are benefiting with that this year. He got him. Peralta strikes out. Back-to-back strikeouts for Lance Lynn. 3 in the game.
had 2 errors in the Cards home opener, and he took it hard, really hard. He hung the blame on himself in the post-game media scrum, but he said it really ate at him. He said he didn't sleep much at all Monday night. He told me 3 a.m. he's wide awake, and all he wanted to do was come back down to the ballpark and take ground balls. He says errors bother him because he knows how hard pitchers work. And he says defense is the only thing you have control of in baseball, so he expects his to be a plus. He may also have a chip on his shoulder. He told me when he was drafted, the knock on him was that he wasn't a very good player defensively. He says he takes a lot of pride in trying to make himself much better. And Danny also told me today he feels like he's past it. But as you know, there's a miscue for Colton. He wears it a little bit.
Absolutely. By the way, Jim, great job on the pregame, and I know a personal milestone for you in terms of meeting huge celebrities. Chuck Woolery was at the ballpark, and you had the chance to visit with him today.
Yeah, he wanted to be here because he's never been to a Cardinals game and has never thrown out the first pitch. He was here for the Cardinal Glennon event last night. And Dan, as you know, I'm a big fan of lingo.
We'll talk to you at 2 and 2, Jim.
All right.
Anybody that's probably 25 or younger has no clue what that meant. Here's the 1-1 pitch as Molina serves it into right for a base hit. And Ricky, knowing you and your choice of TV viewership, Love Connection probably not on many times at the Horton household.
Didn't watch it a lot, no. Doesn't mean it wasn't superb television.
And we'll be back in 2 and 2.
It's starting to come back to me.
Here's Colton Wong. But the Cardinals here with 4 base hits. And I wonder if this offense, now that they'll start playing every single night, will get into a rhythm. The timing for a hitter that we talk so much about. It's been a tough way to start a season with the off days. Game that was canceled in Chicago. The pomp and circumstance of opening day. You get that behind you, and now we start what is truly the grind of the regular season.
Well, when an offense is working, Dan, it's very much that the sum is greater than the parts, and you've got kind of 1 through 9 doing things at the right time, and all of a sudden your offense is scoring more runs than you think they even should. You're getting hits at the right time, and that's what you're trying to find, that feel as a group. It's not just, it's individuals playing as a team. That's what baseball is, but you've got to get really everybody into the act. Good to see Molina get a base hit right there so he could be a part of this.
Let's say the first 7 to 10 games, who has the advantage coming out of spring training, pitchers or hitters?
Well, I would say pitchers do. I think pitchers early on have the advantage because hitters are still searching for that rhythm and that timing. And, even from a pitcher's point of view, I don't think the pitcher really worries too much about whether it's hot or cold, or, you can use those things to your advantage. But a hitter's hitting in Arizona or hitting in Florida, all of a sudden you're hitting in Chicago and it's 40 degrees. It's just different. Feels different, looks different. And, pitching is about throwing off timing, which we often say it is. Then there are a lot more things that exist naturally to throw off their timing.
Lynn gets the bunt down. Peralta to second and out.
Pretty gutsy play by Peralta there. There's the secondary lead for Molina. The bunt, the throw to second, and just barely gets Yachty. Boy, he didn't have a lot of time to work with there for Peralta. Throwing off balance. And the job Segura did to stay on the bag.
Now it's Matt Carpenter, as Lucroy is out to visit with Peralta. Matt Carpenter was saying to some folks the other day that he's still learning. He said, obviously, I'm going to learn every day that I go about playing in Major League Baseball. However, He said, I'm relatively still a young player at this game, even though my age doesn't represent being, a 21 or 22 young kid that's the leadoff guy. He's not that. And yet, he said, I'm still trying to find my way as we go along.
Well, he's in that sweet spot as far as I'm concerned where he's learning, and that has to do with his attitude and the kind of guy Matt Carpenter is. But I think he's learning and teaching at the same time, because there's players, think about Colton Wong, watching Matt Carpenter as a leadoff hitter. I mean, there may be a day where Colton Wong can be a leadoff hitter and should be in his career. But how does Matt Carpenter get on base as often as he does? What does he do to get those deep counts, and how does he trust his hands when he's behind, and how does he get to know the strike zone as well as he does? All those things make him not just a learner but a teacher.
Not many hitters are as comfortable in the mental side of the game, hitting deep into a count and hitting with 2 strikes, and not only is he comfortable with it, he welcomes it. That's where a lot of young hitters get overexposed. Would you agree?
No question. You get into the uh-oh count. 1 and 2, and uh-oh, what are they going to throw now? Carpenter's fine with that.
A fly ball lifted to left. Parra under it. And he puts it away. Cardinals strand their second runner through 2 innings, and we play 2 here at Busch Stadium. 2-0. Fox Sports Midwest is brought to you by Ford, the official cars and trucks of the St. Louis Cardinals, and by Steel Outdoor Power Equipment. Quality, reliability, and value. Find a servicing Steel dealer at steeldealers.com or search STIHL. Beautiful night here in St. Louis. Jackie Robinson Day around Major League Baseball. If you're just joining us, all the players, managers, coaches around the game wearing the number 42 to honor Jackie Robinson. The top of the lineup, Carlos Gomez, Jonathan Lucroy, and Ryan Braun. Ripped into center. Jay back and makes the catch. And Gomez is 0 for 2 in the strikeout.
Nice play by John Jay, who's had a couple of very good seasons in a row defensively. I thought last year might have been his best. Didn't overreact to that ball, saw it well. You've got to have good vision to be a center fielder. It's fun to listen to Jim Edmonds talking about playing center field, and I don't know if anybody that did it as well in a Cardinal uniform as Jim Edmonds. And he could see the signs from the catcher in center field, and had pretty good eyesight to do that, and that would help him get jumps to his left or to his right. And there were times where he'd ask the umpire to move because he knew he was getting some signs from the catcher that would help him play in a more ready way defensively.
2 balls, no strikes on Jonathan Lucroy, who dealt with a hamstring injury at the beginning of spring training. He played in 15 games for the Brewers this spring, hit .435, 5 home runs, drove in 11. And he's off to a tough start here in regular season play. Before the game tonight, he was asked about that start. He did single to center first time up, and he said yesterday he spent a lot of time looking at video. He said, I know the adjustment that I have to make. It's all about, again, timing. 2-1 the count.
You know, not everybody can look at video and see what the coach sees and then physically be able to make that adjustment quickly. I mean, that's tough business with some guys. Some guys are field players, field pitchers, field hitters. So you say, well, you see where your elbow is? Like, no, I don't see where my elbow is. I mean, I can't see what you see. It's happening so fast. But it's part of the game right now, for sure.
A 1-out walk and the T-Mobile Game Changers. Look at the highest whiff percentage on fastballs. This is last year. Madison Bumgarner, the postseason hero in the run for the Giants. The Rookie of the Year in the National League, Jacob deGrom. And right there with them, Lance Lynn.
And Dan, I mentioned this a lot, but if you were to ask people, pick those 3 guys in the National League who had the highest whiff percentage on fastballs, people might say Bumgarner. They might even say deGrom, but I don't think you'd get a lot of Lance Lynn answers. He is under the radar somehow on a national basis, and his fastball, which is used over 90% of the time here tonight, is a big weapon.
His first start of the season against Chicago, he picked up career strikeout number 600. He's going for win number 50 tonight. Braun takes a ball low, 1 ball, 1 strike. Maybe with a lesser team, you'd say Lance Lynn, if he was on that team, would be the ace. And now that he's considered, I think, certainly better than a 3, he's a 1 or a 1A for many teams, most teams around Major League Baseball. The numbers bear that out. There's a base hit into right field. Will they run on Hayward here? No, sir. Lucroy stops at second.
Can't blame him for that.
So base hit into right. Runners at first and second. Adam Lind fly to left center his first time up. Lind signed a 3-year contract extension in the offseason, a raise of nearly $6 million a year. And he signed it in the Cardinals weight room. He was working out at Busch Stadium. Things got ironed out with his agent and the Cardinals. They brought down the contract. In the middle of the workout, he signed it, finished it up. And how did he celebrate? He went and watched his brother, who's playing basketball in the 8th grade that night. No big purchases, nothing extravagant. And happy to be here. He calls St. Louis his home year-round. Good pitch. His younger brother is Hunter. Lance's wife, Lauren. And Lance legally adopted his younger brother. They have a 3-year-old daughter as well. And you see the big menacing guy on the mound every 5th day, and he is far from that. Very good person. One of the best things I saw last year, Lance Lynn filled in for Michael Wacha at a camp. And there was a chance for all the kids to get autographs. So every one of them, about 300 to 400 of them, it's about 100 degrees. He signs for everybody and then speaks to the kids. And you can imagine some of the questions he's getting. These are 8, 9, 10-year-old kids just being kids and asking, what's it like to wear a hat in Major League Baseball? What's it like to do this, that, and the other? Who's got the best car? And he answered all of them with a smile on his face, graciously, had fun with them. I mean, he was so good, and to see him in that light is really neat. Good pitch, up and away. And there's your strikeout on a fastball, and that's 4 Ks for Lance Lynn. It's April in St. Louis, and we've got a full day of Cardinals and Blues action tomorrow. The day kicks off with the Cardinals and Brewers at noon, followed by a Blues Classic, a re-air of the Blues Wild matchup from November. At 7, we bring you an extended Blues Live pregame show leading up to Game 1 between the Blues and Wild. That game, remember, it's an 8:30 drop of the puck here on Fox Sports Midwest. So 12 continuous hours of Cardinals and Blues coverage right here on Fox Sports Midwest.
Big day.
Minnesota Wildcat. Of course, Tom Mee, Minnesota native, finds the one guy of 40,000 people that's wearing the Minnesota green and that hat. Tom Mee, our director tonight.
One in every crowd.
Get that out of here. Runners at first and second. Big swing and a miss by Ramirez. I mean, that's a 2-0 pitch. And like you talked about earlier, for the most part, you know it's going to be a pitch to hit, probably a fastball. And that's a very good hitter, and he just put it right by him.
Not many pitchers can do that. You've got to have that swing and miss stuff. We already showed you that Lance Lynn has it. And then he comes back inside, jams it.
Jay won't get there. A run will score. Throw to third is not in time. So a 2-out base hit, and it makes it 2-1 St. Louis on the RBI by Ramirez, his second this year.
Well, the walk to Lucroy, really the worst part of this inning for Lance Lynn. That was not a bad pitch. In fact, it was a good pitch. Coming down and in, he jams Ramirez. Just kind of flares it in the center, and the only reason that's a hit is he didn't hit it well enough. But great respect for Aramis Ramirez's ability to drive in runs over the years. That has been what has set him apart in this game.
So runners at first and third for Parra, who doubled on an 0-2 pitch and beat the throw by Hayward back in the second inning. Two to 1 Cardinals. Cardinals with 2 runs in the first, and moments ago Milwaukee gets on the board. The 1-0. 1 ball, 1 strike.
I don't really have any videos at home of games in the 50s or even in the 60s, but I could imagine an old school pitcher pitching a lot like Lance Lynn does. Good old-fashioned hard ball. Here it is. Hit it.
I think his pace has improved over the last year and a half or so. Made a little mechanical adjustment along the way. There's sometimes his starts would be very slow between pitches. We don't talk about that anymore. 2-1 popped up left side. Carpenter is over. Near the seats and just enough room to put it away. Brewers strand 2. They've left 5 on in the first 3 innings. Coming up for St. Louis, Hayward, Holiday, Adams. Baseball's color barrier. It was Commissioner Seelig. He often said that baseball became the true national pastime when Jackie Robinson first set foot on a Major League Baseball field. How true that statement is.
Very much so. And it's now become an international game in a lot of respects, but it wasn't even fully, at one time, a national game. And now it is. And, you know, I can't help but to think Jackie Robinson deserves the spotlight, had the hardest part of this whole job. We can't mistake that. But when we talk about Jackie Robinson, I can't help but to think of Branch Rickey and his influence on that situation. Across the way at Ballpark Village, there's a Branch Rickey room. And in fact, it's a nice place to rent at Cardinal Nation for parties and board meetings and things. And a lot of pictures of Branch Rickey there.
Hayward into right center. That ball carries a bit, but Gomez is there. Follow the Cardinals with MLB.com at bat. #1 app for live baseball. Get MLB.com at bat for your smartphone or tablet.
So it was Jackie's hard work, but in a lot of ways it was the vision of Branch Rickey that helped make that happen. Branch Rickey, of course, created the minor leagues as well, and yet he persevered in his own way to help Jackie break that color barrier, and stood behind him and stood beside him. But again, it's Jackie's day, but Branch Rickey's certainly a part of it. And the Cardinal roots, as former executive here with the Cardinals, of course with the Dodgers and Pirates and other teams as well.
Slicing towards the right field line, and the catch is not made.
But he thinks it was.
He thinks it was, and Holiday is at second base. The umpire is John Hirschbeck. He's the crew chief, and immediately made the safe signal, which means it's not a catch.
Well, let's take a look at it. Does he catch it?
Sure
so
did.
far, he sure does.
Yeah, that's a catch and a very good play by Ryan Braun.
I mean, Braun was bewildered when he got up, as if there was no doubt about it, and wasn't the fact that he was selling it, which outfielders will sometimes do. I mean, there was no sense of urgency on his part to get up. He takes a double away from Matt Holliday, as this review will indicate here shortly.
To further your story about Branch Rickey and his impact on this franchise, think about how it pertains to one Red Schoendienst. We're going to honor Red on Friday night, but Red thought that he played so poorly when he was trying out coming over from Germantown, Illinois, that he figured, well, there's no way they're going to keep me. It was Branch Rickey that said, son, you're going to play here and you're going to be a good player. Also on our ownership group with Bill DeWitt, the current chairman of the Cardinals and owner, with his father, Bill DeWitt Sr., it was Branch Rickey that spotted greatness with him as he was selling the peanuts and the Cracker Jacks and the sodas at the ballpark. And he said, son, and Mr. DeWitt just told me the story 2 weeks ago, if you want to be here and you want to work at the front office with us, you will go get a college degree, and then after that you're going to get your law degree. Think of the impact that conversation had. And he said that those two had multiple conversations, and Branch Rickey would bring his father over all the time to have dinner and talk baseball. But he said, if you're going to work for me, you're getting an education all the way back then. It's pretty cool, isn't it?
Terrific. And so was this play by Ryan Braun. So Milwaukee gets to keep their challenge because that was ruled in their favor. Kind of one of the new rules on challenges. Not a lot of adjustments made on that particular rule. I think replay got a passing grade from a year ago overall. There's always some things to work out. I think there's more confusion about the collision play at home plate than anything else.
And to an extent, still a little confusion with that.
Well, there's still an issue with instant replay that Dan, I didn't even point out right away. We thought about it after the fact. It was the play that we saw in Cincinnati. Was there a play at third base where the catcher tagged Yadier Molina through to third, and anytime there's a continuation play, it creates confusion for the defense, which actually hurt the Cincinnati Reds in that particular play. They think it's a forced play at third. Their third baseman doesn't tag the Cardinal coming in, which he could have been a double play.
Race to the bag, and Peralta is there. Play by Braun, and it's 2-1 after 3. Phillips 66 with 8 gallons or more. Now until September 24th, and receive up to 50% off a pair of Cardinals tickets to a home game. For more information, visit cardinals.com/Phillips66. It's great to see the families out.
Like that hairstyle.
Makes one of us.
I was thinking it would look good on you.
I'm good. I'm all right.
You know, interesting through 3 innings, Dan, that Lance Lynn has thrown nearly twice as many pitches as Willie Peralta. And one of my conclusions from that is that the Cardinals are doing something in the early going, which we've noticed, where they're attacking the baseball in early counts more than we saw them in the past. And so Peralta with just 33 pitches through 3 innings, that's a low number, and Lynn's count up a bit more.
What are your expectations for Lynn this year? By the way, it's 1-2 on Segura. 15 to 17 wins.
I think that's very reasonable. Could go higher. At least this far into his career, he's been a healthy guy. He's been able to answer the bell every 5th day, and I think that helps you get wins.
For a while, a lot of people would point to the run support that Lynn would get and say, well, that's why he's winning all these games. And then he didn't get the run support, and you started saying to yourself, well, maybe he's pretty darn good.
Right.
Well, he is very good.
Well, there's been a devaluation of the win statistic for starting pitcher in many people's mind. Not all. Some would argue that that's still an important stat, and I'd be kind of more on that side.
Chop to short. Here's Peralta.
But it sure helps when you've got the run support. You've got people behind you.
Segura is 1 for 2. The Kia in the driver's seat. Lynn, Gio Gonzalez, Zach Greinke, the highest run support starter since 2012. I mean, there was at one point, I think in 2012, looking back at the last 3 years. But 2012, he was getting close to 6 runs a game, it seemed like.
Well, I think there's, not to play around with the numbers even more, but I think I guess I'm going to do it. I think it'd be more important to say what the kind of the mode average is, not the median average. So what do they normally get for you in terms of number of runs? If you got 6 runs support for your starts, there may be a couple of 12s in there, a couple of 14s in there, and that makes that stat a little skewed as far as I'm concerned. It's what's the average, meaning the modal average, the normal number of runs your team gets for you, and Lynn certainly had some help there too.
Struck out 4 here tonight. Arguably his biggest strikeout was Scooter Gennett, the man at the plate, back in the second with 1 out and 2 on. Runners at first and third. He struck out Gennett, who drives this into right center for a base hit on an 0-2 pitch.
Well, he went away 0-2 last time. And he decides to go inside corner on Gennett this time, and he's able to jam him. That was the plan, but Gennett comes up with a base hit.
Here's Peralta. Lynn and Peralta hooked up on August 16th of last year. The Brewers won that game in 12 innings. Both pitchers going 7 innings. Both taking a no decision. Peralta squares, bunts it off the plate, and foul. 1 ball, 1 strike.
Well, we're only in the 4th inning. All kinds of baseball to follow here, but really the difference in the game right now is Jose Oquendo sending Jason Hayward aggressively in that Cardinal 1st inning. Pick up that 2nd run. That's the difference. Jose looks good, doesn't he?
He does.
Back to running again. Kind of been a distance runner in his past.
The bunt is down. Lynn will throw to first. Lobs it to Adams. And Gennett is in scoring position. Cards fans, it's a good time to be a Blues fan too. Celebrate Blues postseason hockey at McDonald's. Get a Big Mac or a Quarter Pounder with cheese for just 25 cents when you buy one at regular price on Blues game days. Here's Carlos Gomez with 2 outs, runner at second base. Struck out swinging to start the game on a 2-1 pitch and lined out to center. That pitch taken low. Gomez was signed for $50 grand at the age of 16 by the New York Mets. And he's been a part of a couple of big deals. 2008, he was part of the Johan Santana deal with Minnesota and New York. Then in 2009, acquired by Milwaukee from Minnesota for J.J. Hardy. The Mets actually used to have races at spring training. See who the fastest player in the organization was, and it always came down to Gomez and Jose Reyes. And he's got power, he's got speed, and they feel in the last couple of years he now has added the average and on-base percentage to that combination of power and speed. The 2-1 pitch. Jonathan Lucroy is on deck. 3-1 the count.
In some ways, that's really your perfect leadoff hitter, isn't he? A guy who's got some power and can steal a base. I mean, you'd like more walks, maybe, but that guy can do some damage. You think of Ricky Henderson.
3-2. Wins above replacement. Common stat with sabermetrics. Trout, McCutchen, then Gomez. It's the highest WAR since 2013.
Pretty elite company there when you start thinking about him being one of the top 3 players in the game. And those who follow that stat, WAR, believe that is the best stat that considers somebody's real value.
Do you remember when Mark McGwire would hit a foul ball and he would sometimes bring the barrel of the bat up to his nose like Gomez is doing? He said you could smell burnt wood. A 3-2. Wong is positioned perfectly. Retires Gomez. Milwaukee strands a runner. They have stranded 6 through 4 innings.
Back to school this morning, and he tweeted out a picture to document the experience. He was a guest of Mrs. Brennan's 2nd grade class at Our Lady of Lourdes in St. Louis. One of the students, AJ, won a raffle. The prize was a visit by the Cardinal third baseman. Matt told me he sat in on the class, sat at a desk, did a Q&A with the students, met some of the parents. Matt told me he had an awesome time, but cramming into that little chair and desk, he said he kind of felt like Billy Madison.
That's great. Good photo there. Thank you, Jim. And here's Peralta, and he rips it out to left for a leadoff hit. So Peralta, who lined out in the first, singles to start the home half of the 4th.
Ball up in the zone, also inside. We see a lot of hitters getting jammed, but getting base hits in this game. That's about the 4th one we've seen like that. Peralta very nearly with a 2-hit night, lined out his first plate appearance. Hit that first pitch better. That's baseball. Matt Carpenter and Billy Madison. That I can't put my head around those two. They're so very different, aren't they?
Yes, they are.
You said Matt was always learning. I didn't know he was going to go to that extreme.
Yeah, well, you know, you're always trying to broaden your horizons. Good for him. John Jay grounded out to second. Wins above replacement, WAR in sabermetrics. A great way to look beyond just the RBIs and the average and even the defense to an extent, and put it all together and what that player would mean if he was missed.
And what that means is, you know, Matt Carpenter's WAR as a third baseman would mean what difference does it make that he's the Cardinals' third baseman as opposed to the average third baseman in baseball? And so you put the average third baseman in there to have an average year different than Carpenter.
Love it. Hit and run. Peralta on his way to third. John Jay, nice piece of hitting.
guessing that means first and third in second grade sign language. He did learn a lot. There's the hit and run. Hit the ball on the ground anywhere, and preferably where there's no infielder. But the key is you cannot pop this ball up. That's the worst thing. You have to have a swing where you hit the ball on the ground somewhere.
Brings in Molina as Lucroy delivers the signs defensively.
So I like the WAR stat that we were talking about, wins above replacement. It really takes everything into consideration. So you mentioned that Trout has an 18. That means he basically led to 18 wins himself. If you could generally kind of put that on him, then that's why he's the best.
Runners at the corners. Good cut by Molina. It's interesting, too. You take a look at a guy like Jason Hayward, career low 11 home runs last year, but his WAR, wins above replacement, ranked in the top 5. So that takes into account just
defense,
what he means defensively.
Base running.
Exactly.
It's the complete player.
Runners at first and third. And a check again on John Jay.
You know what it doesn't take into consideration, and it's by definition not able to be measured, are the intangibles that a player brings, especially a bench guy. You got a bench guy that's a good teacher, a good helper, a good encourager, helps his teammates get better, supportive. I mean, there's some value in that as opposed to a guy that could go the other direction.
I couldn't agree more. In particular, a bench player, especially veterans.
Yeah, exactly.
1 ball, 1 strike on Molina. Single to right. Ground ball. Fair ball. Past the diving Ramirez. 1 run is in. Molina thought about going to second. Now he has to hustle back to the bag at first and in there safely. Yachty makes it 3-1 St. Louis.
Second hit of the night for Yadier Molina, just inside the bag and past Ramirez. The bench reaction. Stand up and applaud. Notice that time that Parra threw to the right base, too.
The Cardinals had 3 consecutive hits in the first inning. They start the 4th with 3 consecutive. And now it's Colton Wong. Runners at first and third and still nobody out. Shallow in center field for Colton Wong, who does have some pop. You think about Wong, it's just unlimited potential with this kid. Defensively, running, power potential. The 1-0.
I like what Jim Hayes reported about Colton's not being able to sleep. Not that you're happy a guy can't sleep, but the fact that he took kind of the blame for the game. And Mike Matheny was talking about it before the game and said, I'm glad, too, that Colton is taking responsibility. I don't agree with him. It's more than just him. It's still a team game. But I want him to think that way. So, you know, the player that doesn't take responsibility is a player that's probably not going to learn very well.
2-1.
And I think he will be teachable. He'll be coachable. I think he's going to get better defensively. I think he already acts like a player that belongs here more than he did a year ago. Seemed young to be here in some ways. But I don't really see that in his eyes anymore.
A 2-1 pitch to Colton Wong. Up and in.
Dan, remember a young Cardinal outfielder turned second baseman that beat himself up over every error that he made.
Schumacher.
We just saw him in Cincinnati.
Yep.
Skip was the worst at that. I say the worst. He was just so tight about and so upset with every mistake that he made. He didn't make many, but good to see him in Cincinnati, wasn't it?
It was. 3-1 to Wong. And a fly ball lifted into shallow center. Gomez, a very good arm under it, makes the catch. And a strike to the plate.
Sometimes it's hard to throw a strike from 60 feet 6 inches. You know, that's a pretty good pitch from a long distance.
And for Peralta, that's the key out potentially in this inning. Now with the pitcher up, Lance Lynn, and then Matt Carpenter on deck.
Well, with Lance Lynn coming up, if there was any chance there for John Jay to score, it certainly had to consider the arm of Gomez. But if that had been 20 feet deeper, maybe John Jay tries it because Lance Lynn, the pitcher's coming up.
Third baseman in on the grass. That's Ramirez. Lynn pops it in the air, and a diving catch by Lind. Nice play.
Nice play by Adam Lind.
Molina wearing that protective equipment for the wrist and the thumb. This is back on July 9th. We always say it, the one player the Cardinals could ill afford to lose, Yadier Molina, well, he went down for a good portion of that second half. A.J. Brzezinski was picked up, who, by the way, is off to a fine start with the Atlanta Braves. And we saw Molina then at the tail end of that playoff run. So 2 outs and 2 on for Carpenter.
He's still the guy you don't want to lose. That hasn't changed.
Since 2005, when he became the regular catcher, nearly 11,000 innings caught by Yadier Molina. An incredible, staggering number. Cardinals were 14 games above 500 when Molina played. Without him, just 4 games above 500. The team ERA a run higher when he wasn't in there. Carpenter out to deep right field. Braun is back, and it's off the wall. 1 run is in. Molina is held up at third, and Carpenter comes through with 2 outs and extends the St. Louis lead to 4-1.
Carpenter normally drives the ball into the gaps, but occasionally he'll turn on one. And that's what he does here. You leave one up in the zone, this off-speed pitch, middle in, and he drives it. Love that crack of the bat.
And now it's Hayward. Hayward doubled just inside that third baseline in the first inning. And then fly to deep right center.
And Dan, I didn't think we'd be sitting here bottom of the 4th inning with Peralta and Lynn pitching and already have 14 hits in this game. Both teams have come swinging today. Red Shane ain't fast for it.
Jason Hayward is about due. He chops it to the right side. Jeanette has to hurry, and Lynn back to the bag and makes the play. Cardinals pick up 2, extend the lead to 4-1. Up for Milwaukee as they move to the top of the 5th.
Jackie Robinson day to day, Dan. I mean, you already mentioned Branch Rickey and his part of that story, but I also think about the other players, the other African American players who really brought this game to a new level. Larry Doby, the first African American player in the American League, and you think about Willie Mays and Hank Aaron, the star players of the late 50s, and Bob Gibson, of course, the Cardinal, Lou Brock. So we're celebrating Jackie Robinson, yes, but it's not about him only, which I think is fitting in a lot of ways. That we're just celebrating baseball's part in getting things right on a national level, and now the fact that the game is in fact a national game.
1 ball, 1 strike on Jonathan Lucroy, who singled to center and also walked. It's Lucroy, Braun, and Lind. 2, 3, and 4 in this lineup for Milwaukee. And a high fly ball to Jason Hayward. Every weeknight, don't miss MLB Whip Around on Fox Sports 1. Highlights, instant analysis, live look-ins from around the league. MLB Whip Around. Weeknights at 6 on Fox Sports 1 and streaming live on Fox Sports Go. Every player wearing number 42 to honor Jackie Robinson. We've talked about Jason Hayward and why he wears number 22. Mike Matheny switched his number from 22 to 26 this year. There's also a touching backstory on that. That's to honor a young friend who had passed away. His name, Sean Glanville, for Mike Matheny. He played with his oldest son when they were kids, and when Sean was 12, suffered a traumatic brain injury in a car accident. So the family was told he had 1% chance of surviving, that he may not make it through even that night. Well, Sean not only made it through that night, he lived for 7.5 years. There's the Sean Glanville Traumatic Brain Injury Foundation, which funds research and care for children with TBI, and that's why Mike switched his number to number 26 and gave up number 22 for Jason Hayward and his fallen friend.
So more than just a number, and you could add Carlos Martinez to that list, of course, wearing number 18 to honor Oscar Taveras this season, and a very touching moment with Carlos on opening day.
Sure was. One-two pitch to Braun. Fouled back.
Lance Lynn could use a low pitch count inning. A lot of pitches through the first 4, and we talked about the streak of Cardinal starters going 6+ innings. Already up to 91 as he's working with just 1 out here in the 5th inning.
I always find this interesting to look back in history with WAR, because it is what I enjoy out of sabermetrics mostly. A lot of things I like about it, but this is my favorite one. Jackie Robinson had the 3rd highest WAR between 1947 and 1956, behind some guy named Stan Musial, and also, Ted Williams. 3rd best, Jackie Robinson.
In ways that we'll never know, Jackie Robinson's whole career was a WAR for him.
A 3-2. Popped up right side. Adams is over near the tarp, and just enough room to put it away. Always one of the most popular days here at the ballpark, and that is the 11th annual Purina Pooches in the ballpark. Come downtown, enjoy a ball game with man's best friend. Now, this is a limited number of tickets. They'll go on sale beginning at 10 a.m. April 17th at cardinals.com/pooches. Rick will have his FCA night coming up on May 1st.
Looking forward to that. Adam Wainwright will participate in that. particular night. One of the Cardinal theme nights this year. Pirates are in town on a Friday night. Celebrating 50 years of FCA. And by the way, Branch Rickey, one of the founders.
Yes, he was.
Of FCA.
Very interesting is Adam Lind looks at a ball, how Branch Rickey approached baseball on Sundays. If you've ever read anything about Branch Rickey or have talked to those that maybe had the chance to visit with him, there's not many left, but they will tell you he did not believe that games should be played on Sundays. I'm sure you've read that.
I have. As a general manager, he wouldn't even come to the ballpark. And you know, he's also famous for being a pretty tight businessman, too.
Oh, yeah.
I believe it was Ralph Kiner had a big year and came in and wanted a raise, and they had finished in last place. He was with the Pirates at the time, and he actually cut him. And he had a 30, 40 home runs. They had a big season. And he said, well, how can you do that? I had a great year. And he said, well, we came in last place with you, and we can come in last place without you.
Time is called by Lind with 2 outs and nobody on. Kevin Segrist is throwing in the Cardinals' pen. Pitch number 99. Ground ball. Peralta. Positioned perfectly up the middle. And a 1-2-3 inning for Lance Lynn. Cardinals with a 4-1 lead. Here's Holiday. RBI single in the first. That scored 2 and got the Cardinals started early on. One more little nugget about Jackie Robinson. 1949, he won the MVP award. He hit .342, 124 RBIs, 37 steals. No player has hit those marks in the same season. That's amazing. 3-0 the count on Holiday. Question right now for the Cardinals will be if Lance Lynn will go one more inning. Right around that 100 pitch mark is Lynn.
Big strong guy. Again, he'd have to have a short inning send him back out there, Danny, and see how far he can go and see if he can get some outs quickly.
A long conversation with the home plate umpire, and I think he was frustrated on a pitch that was called a ball on Lynn. That went to 3-1. There's a check swing and a walk for Matt Holliday. You can celebrate Cardinals catcher Yadier Molina's 7 Gold Gloves and 3 Platinum Glove awards this Saturday. 25,000 fans ages 16 and older will take home the Yadier Molina bobblehead presented by Central Bank of St. Louis this Saturday.
I have become a big bobblehead fan, as you know. This year they're going to be recognizing, Dan, the 30-year anniversary of the '85 Cardinal pennant winning team, and there will be a series of 12 bobbleheads, and I know you're going to want to get every one of them. I believe Ozzy's the first one, so don't miss that. But there'll be collector's items, and I've seen some of the. Had a chance to see the finished products today. Prototype, pretty cool.
Is that a theme night for yours?
I believe. I'm not sure if that's the right night. Yeah, I believe it's called a theme night, and
I think you are a theme night.
I'm a theme night. Oh, that's scary.
And a base hit into right. Stopping at second, Holliday. The first 2 have reached.
A lot of left-handers like the ball down in the zone, and that's where this pitch was. Middle of the plate. Probably caught too much of the plate, even though it was down. And Adams likes that spot and drives it in the hole. The Cardinals with 9 hits off of Peralta. I mean, this guy can be nasty. We've seen him in shutdown mode against the Cardinals, but not so far tonight. Don't see the normal velocity we've seen from him.
So a walk and a single. No activity yet in the Milwaukee pen. Pitch count is only at 56 for Peralta. And Johnny pops one foul and out of play.
Game winner in 2014. A lot of recognizable names there, and maybe Peralta a little bit like Lance Lynn, being a guy that hasn't gotten as much credit as he deserves. Danny, I should have meant something earlier in our conversation about WAR. Slight clarification. WAR is not the average player replacing a Matt Carpenter, but it's against what a readily available replacement player would be.
Here's the 0-1.
So a slight difference in terms of that level of ability. Regardless, it's become a important stat for arbitration moments and contracts and big contracts and projecting players' value.
And a swing and a miss. So 1 out with 2 runners on.
Good sinking movement on that fastball from Peralta. Still my favorite pitch in baseball. And you think about Michael Wacha when you think of this, a guy who is able to deliver a pitch from a high angle with a downhill direction with sink action and velocity. I think that's the toughest pitch to hit in baseball. I think that's why Wacha, when he's right, is so good. Tall frame, throws over the top, throws downhill. velocity and movement both.
The first strikeout for Peralta in this game, which is a bit surprising as well. 0-1 pitch to Jay is in the dirt. John Jay is grounded out to second. And back in the fourth after Peralta and led off the inning with a base hit, they put the hit and run on to perfection. Jay eventually came around to score. A 1-1 pitch. Jay hits it the other way, slicing, but Parra is there, spins and throws. Even there with Parra, just getting himself in a position to make the catch and spin and throw a strike to second base, and it all happens very, very quickly.
A lot of reactions in this game.
Here's Molina, who's 2 for 2. Single to right and single down the third base line. Picked up an RBI, and Yachty pulls it foul past Jose Oquendo for strike one. Beautiful night for baseball here in St. Louis at Busch Stadium. Along with Rick Horton and Jim Hayes, I'm Dan McLaughlin, our entire Fox Sports Midwest crew. 0-1 pitch to Yadier Molina. Ground ball, left side, deep in the hole. Segura can't come up with it, and the bases are loaded for Colton Wong. Segura with an error earlier back in the first, and we'll see if they give him an error here. Inning started with a walk to Holiday. Adams a base hit to right. Strikeout of Peralta. Jay lined out, and now Molina is aboard. They give Molina a hit on that play. Here's Colton Wong. So Yachty is 3 for 3.
Could have gone either way.
Pretty generous.
Certainly had to play at third.
Exactly. Wong came up with 2 on, nobody out, back in the fourth with runners at first and third, and flied out to shallow center. Then Lynn popped out, and Carpenter got him off the hook with an RBI double. Colton Wong's first home run in the big leagues was last year against Kansas City, and it was a grand slam. Cardinals on opening day were 2 for 13 with runners in scoring position. Tonight they're 4 for 10. Colton could bust this game wide open. Here's a 1-0 pitch. 2-0. Left-hander getting loose in the pen now for Milwaukee. Here's a 2-0 to Colton Wong. Mark Reynolds has moved to the on-deck circle if the Cardinals' second baseman can extend the inning.
Wong with a chance to break the game open here.
The 2-1. Inside, 3-1.
And now the pitch count to do it.
A 3-1 pitch to Colton Wong. Wong with a fly ball. Right center, Gomez. Cardinals strand the bases loaded. We played 5. Redbirds on top. To be announced at the All-Star game, basically the Mount Rushmore of your franchise, and these are the 8 finalists. You have 4 to pick, and tonight we'll highlight Albert Pujols, the former first baseman of the St. Louis Cardinals. In his prime, boy, was he fun to watch.
Best player in the game, in my view, over a number of seasons, and you just wonder how many more votes he would get had Albert stayed here. Certainly going to get a lot of votes. He gave us a lot of thrills, a lot of big moments. Very much a complete player and leader of a team that was competing year after year. 3-time National League MVP, the 2 World Series. Number 5.
Pujols off to a slow start this year, hitting 148 for the Angels. Ramirez, Parra, Segura due up against our Chevy Colts of the pen, Kevin Segrist, who's been very good so far. This is his 4th appearance, an inning and 2/3. No walks, 3 strikeouts.
Dan, I don't know about you, but I hold my breath over the health of Kevin Segrist. No reason to think he's not sound, but you know, he had all those issues a year ago, and you just hope they're behind him.
Fly ball lifted to right. There's Hayward.
Segrist can be such a weapon. Our Hyundai pitch arsenal for Kevin Segrist, nearly 86% fastballs. Throws some changeups every once in a while. Throws a breaking ball primarily to left-handed batters. But when he's right, he's just fastball, here it is, hit it. That's what he did 2 years ago. And I think a key part of that bullpen, you've got a number of right-handed arms out there that you think are in the right spot, but with he and Randy Choate, if he's not healthy, I think he may have some issues. The Cardinals no longer have Sam Freeman in their organization. They traded him along, and so the next place to go would be Marco Gonzalez, perhaps Tyler Lyons,
Tim Cooney,
a starter in AAA.
Here's Parra and a swing and a miss. Segrist, 2 years ago, it didn't matter if he came in and faced lefties or righties. The opposition had a switch hitter. It was a great benefit for Mike Matheny because it did not matter. Lefties, righties, he was just a shutdown pitcher. On the outside corner and a strikeout of Parra. First strikeout this ball game for Segrist. Kids love to cheer on the Cardinals, and on Sunday, all kids ages 15 and younger entering with a ticket receive their very own Cardinals baseball T-shirt, courtesy of Pasta House and Coca-Cola. Get your tickets at cardinals.com/promotions. Gene Segura. David Freese also with the Angels. Two former Cardinals, both hitting under 200, but Freese with 3 home runs already and 5 RBIs. He'll be a free agent to be after this year. Wish him well. Here's an 0-1 pitch. And a base hit into right field. That's slicing and over to get it, Hayward. By the way, I was watching the Angels the other night in Arlington playing Texas, and still every time David Freese comes up to the plate, he gets booed. And booed loudly.
You know, they lost more than that game than the series, but they lost a lot of momentum too.
As a franchise.
As a franchise.
Pinch hit now for Scooter Gennett after the base hit for Segura. Derek Lilliquist out to visit. Seth Maness getting loose in a hurry in the Cardinals' pen. You were talking about how many votes Pujols may get. I'm curious about the reception he would get.
Yeah.
In a year or two, with time that's passed since he left. As a fan, so disappointed that he left.
Well, I think it would be favorable. Yeah, I think Cardinal fans,
I do too,
will of course have their emotional feelings about.
The first year I didn't feel that way.
Yeah, I agree, but I think over time, honestly, there was a time where Tony La Russa didn't get positive reception here, and he was the team's manager when he first came here. He's not a popular man, and I thought he got as big of ovation as anybody, except for maybe Willie McGee on opening night here.
I agree. Hector Gomez is the hitter, and he takes a ball down and in. Hector was with AAA Nashville last year, hit 15 home runs, 49 RBIs. And jammed there on that pitch, 1 ball and 1 strike. Was called up late last season and batted just 150 in 15 games with Milwaukee. You may recall, though, he did have the game-winning single in the 12th inning off of Kevin Segrist. The game,
I do remember that,
late last year.
Just popped into my head.
The 1-1. Broken bat and bobbled by Carpenter to first, and the throw not in time. So runners at first and second with 2 outs. Cardinals should be out of the inning.
So he doesn't bobble this for very long. It's at his feet, picks it up quickly, throws, still doesn't get it there in time. Just shows how fast guys get down the line. You have no margin for error. And that's going to chase Kevin Segrist.
The second error committed by Carpenter this year, and Seth Maness will come into the ball game, and he'll have 2 runners on with 2 outs. A Chevy called to the pen. noon. It's a day game. Mike Fiers and John Lackey. Noon with the pregame show. 12:45 the first pitch. Our What's on Tap presented by Budweiser. Seth Maness, his 5th ball game he's appeared in. He'll come in with runners at first and second and 2 outs.
You're going to get strikes and you're going to get sinkers from Seth Maness. Does not have an overpowering fastball, but has that good late movement. Tries to get hitters to beat the ball into the ground.
Pinch hitter will be Chris Davis, so Cardinals will get into the Milwaukee bullpen this inning. And Davis is a power threat. Very poor numbers against Lance Lynn in his career. So Parra got that start in left. Lynn 5 innings, 1 run, 6 hits. Segras 2/3 of an inning, and now Seth Maness. 1 ball, 1 strike. One and 2. His career with 2 outs and runners in scoring position, just a 105 average.
Bit of a free swinger, isn't he?
Here's a 1-2. Got him. A called 3rd strike. Davis couldn't pull the trigger. Maness comes in. And Milwaukee strands 2. They have stranded 8 so far in this game. St. Louis on top, 4-1. Fox Sports Midwest, the Blues and Bud Light present rallies before every home Blues playoff game. Join us for live music and appearances by Blues celebrities outside Scott Trade Center. Join the Blues, Bud Light, Fox Sports Midwest tomorrow at 5 to cheer on the Blues. Once again, the Blues and Cardinals will occupy the airwaves of Fox Sports Midwest tomorrow beginning at noon and all the way through. Drop the puck at 8:30. Hour-and-a-half long pregame show. They're going to show a replay of the Blues and Wild before that pregame show. Cardinal baseball will kick it off at noon tomorrow. Good luck to the Blues. Neil Kotz is into the ball game, and he will face Randal Grichuk. Grichuk on the first pitch, a high fly ball lifted into right. Ryan Braun with the catch. What happened to the Milwaukee Brewers? They led for 150 days when playing, 159 if you include the off days in the division, and then missed out on postseason play and barely made it over 500 for the entire year.
Interesting that there's 3 teams on that list that were in succession. The Mets in 07, the Diamondbacks, and then the Tigers. Of course, the 1969 Chicago Cubs we know all about. That historic collapse. But you mentioned on opening day, Dan, that the Brewers really built their lead in April. They were 20-8, and they were just kind of hanging on by their fingernails till right around the All-Star break, and they just had to have a win right before the break to stay in first place. And Ron Renicky, well, he's been trying to figure it out since. Where was that magic from April a year ago?
Neil Kotz was with Texas last year.
From Lebanon, Illinois.
We saw him pitch a number of years in Chicago with both the White Sox and the Cubs.
Had to have been a Cardinal fan from Lebanon, wouldn't you say?
I would. Strikeout of Carpenter, who's 2 for 4.
Noticed a lot of kids at the ballpark today.
That to me is the amazing thing about the crowds we get early in the season, despite the fact that school is not out yet. Once summer gets here, you'll see the crowds just explode. And we've got, I believe, over 40,000 here tonight. As Hayward hits it out of play for strike 1.
Love the young faces.
Neil Kotz in relief of Willie Peralta went 5 innings. 4 runs on 10 hits, 1 strikeout, 1 walk. Jason Hayward with his 4th double of the season tonight.
Early on, we've seen at least 2 examples of Hayward being able to hit a ball off the plate away. And it'll be interesting to see how teams pitch him. We'll get used to seeing that night after night. Will they pound him in? Will they try to get him out of way? He's way off the plate, which is usually an indication of somebody who wants the ball away. He's going to kind of dive into it. He's trying to protect against the ball in. He's way off the plate. Of course, he has long arms and a long swing, too, to cover out there.
Goes the other way, and Segura makes the catch. The liner off the bat of Hayward.
It's up to the relievers now. Our Yellowwood bringing the lumber. we're going to spotlight Matt Carpenter. His double came with 2 outs in the 4th inning. Drove in a run as it snuck over the head of the right fielder Ryan Braun, and Matt Carpenter off to a good start this season. And he has a couple of hits here tonight. Our Chevy call to the bullpen is Matt Belisle. We've seen him 3 times. His first year as a Cardinal, really showed well in spring training, and like the pitcher he is following, Seth Maness, Belisle, a guy that pounds the strike zone. Been very durable. Started out his career with Cincinnati, went to Colorado, and has a couple of different times kind of had his career on the edge, but has just continued to resurrect it. Has a good slider and a good fastball.
It's amazing how many guys recreate themselves in this game. And it's more so in this game than in so many other games. Hockey or the NBA or football. Guys don't recreate themselves and all of a sudden come back in a different position. Not usually. And Matt Belisle has been a starter with Cincinnati. As you talked about, time with Colorado. There's a ground ball hit to the right side and has become a very reliable reliever. And here he is with the St. Louis Cardinals and has enjoyed a long, very good career.
You know, and it's not even just the position of being a starting pitcher or a reliever, but often it's kind of your pitch repertoire. Maybe you find a new pitch, or you're a guy that threw hard when you were younger and now you've got to adjust. All of a sudden you find a split finger, or you find a sinker, and you become a different guy. And we've seen that with a number of starters in the league that go to the bullpen and find success. Zach Duke's the name that keeps coming to mind, a guy that just all of a sudden became a good reliever. Manny Parra has been a significant pitcher for Cincinnati after being a starter with the Brewers as a young left-hander.
How about Adam Ottavino, who is now going to start closing games out for Colorado?
Cardinals were kind of done with him at one point. High draft choice for the Cardinals. They thought he'd be a starter, and they kind of gave up on him, but he did not give up on himself.
0-2 the count on Jonathan Lucroy. You never know who's going to walk in the booth, and the Hall of Famer Red Shandy's decided to pop in and say hello.
I feel like we should stand up, don't you?
Absolutely.
Bow or something.
Red looks great. And pitch in the dirt. 1-2 the count. Lucroy a single to center. That was in the first. Walked in the third and also fly to right. Outfield is shallow. The 1-2 pitch and a base hit to left. So Lucroy on base for the 3rd time tonight. Next time you're looking for great seats, get to StubHub. On StubHub you can grab Cardinals tickets all season long, even at the last minute, and even if the game is sold out. So get to StubHub today. StubHub, the official fan-to-fan ticket marketplace of the St. Louis Cardinals. Choate and Walden throwing for St. Louis. Blaze Ilsley is the bullpen coach of the Cardinals, and they are charting every pitch thrown out there. Every warm-up pitch, the pitch is obviously in the game, but they keep an eye on just how much these guys are working in particular and how much they're throwing and just warming up.
I think that's wise. That was always done kind of in an ad hoc way in the past, typically by a veteran reliever that would come take the ball out of a young guy's hand and say, stop throwing. Bruce Sutter was very good at that, saying, are you ready? Yes. He said, then stop throwing. Who are you getting out here? If you're ready, you're ready.
0-1 pitch. Lance Lynn, 5 innings tonight. Segris, 2/3 of scoreless baseball. Maness, 1/3 of an inning with 2 runners on and 2 outs. Got out of that jam. And now it's 0-2 on Ryan Braun.
Behind Whitey Herzog's door every night there was a chart that Nick Leyva had to fill out with how many minutes the guy threw on the side. Now they wouldn't chart every pitch, but there would be an X if you didn't throw at all. There would be a S if you threw on the side. There would be a W if you threw warm-ups, and then the game would be a G plus the innings and the number of pitches. So at one glance, Whitey could look on the back of his door on any given day and say, these guys didn't get in the game, but they've thrown in the bullpen 4 days in a row. And it's a lot more technical now, and certainly a lot more digital, all that information. But the theory always has existed that you have to be careful how much you throw out there.
At the old ballpark, too, the next night's starter, next day's starter would be positioned right behind home plate and charting pitches.
And eating hot dogs, right? Oh, that's not where you're going with that. I happen to know that that's part of the responsibility.
Eating hot dogs.
Oh, yeah. Popcorn.
How many times did a guy, though, have to get his uniform back on? Because it wasn't like you were dressed in a full uniform. You're in street clothes.
Street clothes, right. Well, I know one guy that got his uniform back on, and that was Danny Cox when there was a fight on the field. That's actually one of the funniest things I ever saw. He was charting pitches, and we're fighting with the Giants, and they turn around, and all of a sudden there's Danny. He wasn't going to allow there to be a fight on the field without running into the clubhouse, getting changed, and getting into it. Never seen him move so fast.
It's one of our favorites down at Fantasy Camp every year. See him at the ballpark quite often, too. 1-2, gets him to reach. Ground ball hit to third. Carpenter to Adams, and he stretches and stays on the bag.
We've seen Matt Adams do this a number of times, reaching out, keeping the balance. He likes to use that right hand on the ground. We've seen that at least 3 times this season already to make sure he has that balance and stays under control. Always nice to get through Ryan Braun.
Chevy called to the pin. Randy Choate coming on to face Adam Lind. 4-1. Cardinals on top. Peralta 5 innings, Lynn 5 innings. The 2 starters. Ramirez is 1 for 3. Holiday a couple of RBIs in the bottom of the first to get things going for St. Louis. Adam Lind 1 for 17 against Randy Choate.
Randy Choate that way with a lot of left-handers in baseball. That's his role, left-handed specialist. Got the sidearm delivery that's very difficult to pick up for a left-handed batter. Has the sweeping breaking ball. And I think surprises a lot of left-handers the way he uses his fastball in. I think they're always trying to guard against that slider, and occasionally he'll pound that fastball in the inner half.
It seems to me like the slider has still been a little bit of a work in progress coming out of spring training.
A little flat.
Yeah. fourth appearance for Randy. He's given up a hit and a walk. There's the fastball at 82 miles an hour.
So it becomes sneaky. It's just 82, but you can't pull the trigger because you're looking for something else. And if you're looking for one thing and it's just even 5 or 6 miles an hour faster, you just don't have time to pull the trigger.
There's the slider, 1-2.
Well, Randy's slider is sometimes a little flat anyway because of the arm angle, Dan. He throws from the side, but he still has to find ways to keep his fingers on top of the ball to get a little downward movement. But when you throw from down there, you're going to throw a little bit more of a sweeping breaking ball than most would.
And a ground ball. Adams to choke for the out. Time to stretch here in game 2. Cardinals on top 4-1. It's the Gateway Honda home run inning. If the Cardinals hit a home run, the Gateway Honda dealers will donate $1,000 to the Make-A-Wish Foundation. Five innings from Lance Lynn. It's taken 4 relievers to get through 2 innings for the Cardinals. Michael Blazek. Remember him, the former Cardinal? Now with Milwaukee. He was part of the John Axford deal.
One of those hard-throwing prospects that the Cardinals brought up. He really got to the big leagues in a hurry and threw very, very hard. He was throwing 95 with the Cardinals. Had some command issues and went to the Brewers for Axford, and we didn't really see any of him a year ago, and made the team out of spring training this year. And there's some innings possibilities in this Brewers bullpen if he can get off to a good start. Good live arm.
Back in 2013, he appeared in 11 games with the Cardinals, then was traded. 7 games with Milwaukee. First pitch to Holiday is a fastball. Last year, Blazek was used both as a starter and reliever. At AAA Nashville, did not get the call up at the end of the season. 1 ball, 1 strike. 4-4 last year at AAA. 35th round pick by the Cardinals in 2007. Here's a 1-1.
Stay healthy, get outs, and you might get another chance. You know, year after year, we, of course, follow the Cardinals more than other teams even in terms of this stat, but you think about the number of pitchers that you need over the course of a season. It's just not the 12 that are here.
Here's a 1-2.
Injuries, tired arms, performance issues, whatever you want to say. By the time it's all said and done, you're up to 18 to 20 pitchers.
The 2-2. Really, the reality of it is, once you get to the end of September, and if you're a championship team, more than likely you're going to use 30 to 35 players.
Agreed.
Hit to short, Segura.
You're going to use all those players in the marathon of a baseball season. And we say it every year, but it's true every year. It's a marathon. It's not a sprint. Mike Matheny's been talking a lot in the pregame scrum about how, the question is, well, are you concerned about the off days and the maybe lack of timing for your players? And he says, it's so early. I'm just not really worried about anything right now. I mean, it's just not trying to draw big conclusions about anything, because there'll be times where we wish we had off days. And that's going to happen. We're going to play a number of days in a row. And guys will be begging for an off day. Just the way the baseball season is.
This would be one of those times when you're leading 4-1. You have the shift on against Adams that you think about dropping down that bunt.
I don't think it's a bad time.
He did it a couple of times in spring. And I think he'd be the first guy to tell you, I'm not paid to bunt. I'm paid to swing the bat. But it is one way to beat that shift, and maybe have other teams aligned differently if you throw that out there, that's a threat.
I think you can make the case that he's paid to get on base. What's the best way to do it?
Sure. Two and two the count. Adams has fly to center, grounded out to first, and singled to right. These two were teammates in the minor leagues. And Adams waves at it and strikes out. Cardinals have only struck out 3 times collectively tonight.
Breaking ball. He tried to go backdoor. Matt was fooled by it.
Has anything stuck out to you, good or bad, in this first week of the season? Not just here in St. Louis, but in general in the game right now.
I think the biggest story in the game, as far as I'm concerned, that could affect the National League was Kimbrel getting traded on opening day. That one stuck out to me, because I just think that turned the San Diego Padres from a interesting team to a contending team overnight.
Sure.
In fact, there were a couple deals early in the season which I thought was interesting. So I think they're teams that believe they have a chance. I think the start of the Marlins has been, in a negative way, not what I thought we'd see. They've got some injuries and they're losing games, but I wouldn't count them out.
Blazak, 1-2-3 innings. We head to the 8th, 4-1 Cardinals. let's go to our studio across the street and a Bommarito Sports Update with Pat Paris. Jordan Walden, Chevy called to the pen for St. Louis.
Hard-throwing right-hander, came over in the trade with Jason Hayward and expected to be an important part of this Cardinal bullpen. Has the plus fastball, has some wild streaks at times, has some closer experience, but the 8th inning is his. Certainly capable of even more than that if needed.
Another way to entertain yourself here at the ballpark. Watch a game, have a little fun with the popcorn. Aramis Ramirez. And a fly ball lifted into right center. That ball will get down. To the track it goes. And Ramirez trotting in with a leadoff double off of Jordan Walden. That's how we start the top of the 8th. And the Brewers' third baseman is 2 for 4.
So hard to keep him down. The Plaza Tire replay. Location on Fox Tracks, down and away, and the veteran hitter takes it the other way. A lot of doubles and extra bases and hits in his career, too. Mentioned the RBIs earlier. Always a tough out.
So much of that done against the Cardinals. Here's Parra. Lifted out to left, backing up Holiday. Ramirez back to the bag at second. Brings in Gene Segura. This copyrighted telecast is presented by the authority of the St. Louis Cardinals and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form. The accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the St. Louis Cardinals. Here's Segura, 2 for 3 tonight. Good fastball.
Danny, I think it's going to be a while for us to figure out with any real sense of certainty whether the change of pace or change of play, pace of play rules are really working or not. But I've had this feeling that the game is a little crisper. And I think it's guys staying in the box more often. They have the 1 foot out, but they keep the 1 foot in the box. They're not walking around. They don't like the call. Instead of walking all the way around, taking their batting glove off and taking an extra 10 seconds in between pitches, they're ready to go. I think it's helping the game.
A check swing and did not go. To follow up on what you're talking about, I agree with you. I wonder if we'll be saying the same thing in 2 months.
It's a good question.
You know, once it's kind of out of sight, out of mind, you know.
Well, and it also may be the season's new and everybody's kind of fresh and ready to go. But will the umpires and will baseball have the stomach to enforce it? I mean, will they start finding players? They've talked about not doing it in the early going, but as the season progresses, starting to be a little bit more aggressive in terms of the fines. We'll see.
The 2-2. And a ground ball that's hit to Adams. A race to the bag, and he's there. Ramirez advancing to third with 2 outs.
So Adams has about 15 feet to go, and Segura has 90. That's how fast Segura is. Always better for the first baseman to take it himself if he can.
Hector Gomez pinch hit back in the 6th. And Reached on an error by Carpenter. First pitch to him, popped up. Colton Wong, he says, I got it. And he does. Puts it away. Jay Molina Wong coming up. And brought to you by Budweiser. Still brewed the hard way. This Bud's for you. Jackie Robinson Foundation was founded in 1973 by Rachel Robinson, Jackie's wife. It's dedicated to the advancement of higher education, helping so many kids, especially in the inner cities. Jay is 1 for 3. No balls, 2 strikes. Second inning of work for Michael Blazek, the third pitcher used by Milwaukee. This game started by Willie Peralta, then Neil Kotz a scoreless inning, and Blazek a scoreless 7th inning for him. Goodbye, right down the middle, and a strikeout of Jay. The second strikeout for Michael Blazek.
Check the location. You said down the middle. Kind of hard to argue that one. And we were talking about pace of play through this point last year. The average game in Major League Baseball was 3 hours and 2 minutes. And our crack staff here in Fox Sports Midwest has come up with and did the math in between innings, and it's 2 hours and 54 minutes in baseball through this date in 2015. So 8 minutes faster. Felt a little quicker to me. And that's taking into consideration the Yankee Red Sox game.
Good point.
At about 7 hours, wasn't it?
Right.
We're not going to get into median modes.
No.
We're not going to get into that again.
No. 3-0 the count on Yadier Molina. And normally, to me, the Yankees-Red Sox games, as much as they can be entertaining, they can be so long and drawn out. On 3-0, Molina flies to center field. And they're the perfect case in point as to why maybe the game needed to be, just sped up a little bit.
For the baseball enthusiasts, I don't think, at least at this point, they need to worry that people are trying to take baseball out of baseball, because it is a sport that requires some time and some thinking, and it is not a sport that needs or should ever have a clock to cover the play on the field. And it's one of the beauties of the game. I think baseball has just tried to take some of the areas where we can get the pace up a bit and get it to where it used to be. And I think so far the moves seem to be working.
Here's Colton Wong. Hitless tonight.
3 times he's hit the ball in the air.
Stranded 6 himself tonight. Blazek, what a play. 6 up and 6 down. The hops by Michael Blazek. Nicely done. Rosenthal coming on when we come back. Four to 1 in favor of St. Louis as the Cardinals have been out-hit Milwaukee 10-9 and trying to take game 2 of this series.
Trevor Rosenthal on to close it out. The bullpens have done a nice job in relief of the starters Lynn and Peralta, and really just a couple of hits from both pens. 3 hitless innings, in fact, for the Milwaukee Brewers, and Rosenthal will try to follow suit. He'll face Schaefer and then the top of the order in Gomez and Lucroy.
Schaefer pinch hitting for Blazek. He'll start it off here in the 9th, and the first pitch is taken high. What stood out last year with Rosenthal, and it was a very good year, 40+ saves, but what he did at home as opposed to what he did on the road. And just one of those oddities in his line last year as he struggled here at Busch Stadium at times.
Well, the other oddity is that he had a hard time getting the first batter out often, home and on the road. And for a guy that's a closer, you'd think that would not be an issue, especially with a guy that was piling up the saves the way he was. But too many 2-0, 3-0 counts. We see one here.
ERA at home was 4.23, on the road 1.40. 45 saves last year, just the 4th Cardinal to have 45 or more.
Going to have to make an adjustment and set his sights a little over. May have gotten a break there on the 3-0 pitch. Looked like it could have been up.
He walked him. So Rosenthal joined Isringhausen, Lee Smith, and Bruce Sutter last year with 45 or more saves in a single season. And remember, last time that we saw him was in Cincinnati, and he struggled with the strike zone there.
Kind of had the kind of uncomfortable opportunities to talk about Rosenthal's year, and with, you know, was with Trevor on the Caravan and really felt the same way. As look, he had a great year, but yet he could be better. And that's kind of the way I'd sum it up best, because there's too many behind in the count, giving a team a chance. He throws so hard, but pitchers not throwers, pitchers get ahead, and that's his next level.
Only man left in the pen for the Cardinals, Carlos Villanueva. St. Louis started with Lynn, then it went to Segrist, Manus, Belisle, Choate, Walden, now Rosenthal.
One of the things you do when you come in from the pen, your warm-up tosses are really meant to gear you in on strike, strike, strike. The velocity will come from that, but the idea is to get the right landing, right release point. Gomez isn't going to take a pitch no matter what the situation,
nope.
Is he?
No, sir. Inside, 2 balls, 1 strike. Carlos Gomez, last year as a leadoff man, 574 at bats, only 47 walks. Ground ball that's hit to short. Out at second, tough turn, and safe at first, and the speed of Gomez getting down the line. He's limping a little bit too. Looking to check on Gomez here. He's not right. Medical staff is racing out to check on him.
Obvious concern of Ron Renicky. Beats this one into the ground, looks fine to this point, and then starts to pull up. Just be guessing at this point. What do they say in hockey? Lower body injury.
Boy, they could ill afford to lose Gomez. Big part of their team. They've got Luis Jimenez still available on their bench, along with Martin Maldonado. Ron Renicky in year 5 of his tenure as the Milwaukee manager. Fans booing right now as they wait for the runner to take over for Gomez. It's going to be Kyle Loesch.
Looks like he was still getting dressed. Maybe he wasn't ready to do this.
A nice round of applause for Kyle Loesch. The Cardinals now, if they want to, could play behind the runner at first base.
A 4-1 game, I think what the Brewers are saying is we'd much rather have a bat for later than we would waste it on potential run number 2, because he's just going to go station to station anyway.
So 2 available position players, but they go with Loesch in this spot. Here's the 0-1. Let's turn to our player of the game. Matt Carpenter. The key double with 2 outs in the 4th. Also mixed in a run scored and a base hit back in the 1st. So 2 hits tonight for Carpenter, our Budweiser player of the game. Last year, Rosenthal was 5 of 6 in save opportunities against Milwaukee with an ERA of 1. His only blown save was the game that was started by Lynn against Peralta. That's the way that this game started. See Ryan Braun. Oh, that ball scoots away from Molina. Loesch advancing to second base. It takes away the potential of a double play. Now you're talking about almost assuredly facing Ryan Braun, and you don't want to face him representing the tying run.
You add in the numbers you just showed. Just alluded to, against Rosenthal, and always gets a little scary in the ninth, doesn't it?
The 2-2. The fly ball lifted out to left. There's Holiday. 2 now. So with 2 outs, Ryan Braun, the final hope for Milwaukee.
Confusion in the stands as people want to boo Braun, but they want to cheer for the Cardinals.
First pitch out of play. Strike 1. That pitch at 96. We have seen velocity, especially in spring training, was around 97, 98 consistently, which is where it was 2 years ago. He hit 100 over the weekend. The 0-1. One and 2. So Milwaukee down to their final strike. We'll do it again. 97 on the gun that time. The 1-2 pitch to Braun. And it's slicing fair. Base hit into right. Here comes Loesch. He'll score, and the tying run will come to the plate. That makes it 4-2. Ryan Braun, his second hit tonight. So he picks up his second RBI.
Looked like a pretty good location from Trevor Rosenthal. Fastball down in the zone. Really hitting the glove of Yadier Molina. Maybe came back over the plate just a little bit. Braun stays on it, drives it the other way.
Adam Lind. Lind is 0 for 4. Fouled back and a good cut. I mean, don't take this guy lightly. He's off to a great start. Also, he's had 3 20-plus home run seasons. Also had a 35 home run season. He's got a little pop. The 1-1 pitch.
Good
now
change
1-2. Yeah.
Took something off of that. Hit his spot with it.
And again, the Brewers down to their final strike.
Pushed a change up there, got underneath it. I like the selection. Just didn't make his pitch.
The 2-2 in the air. Right center. Jay says he wants it, and the Cardinals have a win. 4-2 as they hold on. Sets up the rubber game tomorrow afternoon right here on Fox Sports Midwest.
Cardinals bullpen does a nice job. Rosenthal finishes it out. Matt Carpenter a big hit in the 4th inning, but Yadier Molina with 3 hits here tonight. Nice to see him back on track.
Tonight, we celebrate the 68th anniversary of Hall of Famer Jackie Robinson's Major League debut across baseball. Cardinals pick up a win 4-2.